Hey, how's everybody doing? Uh, I uh, mostly what I was doing today because I wasn't feeling all that good. Started fading a little bit in the other stream I was doing, so I was just basically building up my drown, sending them into the Nether, sending in like I don't know if it was today or the last time I was playing or last time I was doing that, but I ended up with nothing but golems over there. The drowned had pretty much died over there, and so I was really pumping some drowned in there today. Oh, I cured that. Yeah, that problem has been fixed. Uh, the let's see here. I'll get to the fishing in a minute. I just got a stack of iron from killing off the golem, so wanted to use it. And the other thing I'm gonna probably do before I go over and fish is I should be able to get I'm on the fence. I'm thinking about making like an automatic bamboo farm and an automatic sugarcane farm. Because I'm getting enough where I think I got the materials to do it, and then I don't think I got enough to easily do it, but someday I would like to make one of those sugarcane farms. Like I've seen the hermit crab. I don't know if it'll work on bedrock. I really don't. But I'd like to make one of those sugarcane farms, like I've seen the hermits do, where you have a big flying machine come in and you just make it huge, and then you get I don't know if they did that with sugar canes or just bamboo, but you just basically come through with the sugarcane or the flying machine and just take out a ton of shit. And I'm not ready to do it, but maybe next weekend, maybe in the next week or two, and you know, gotta put this. You gotta take this with a grain of salt. Maybe not, but in the next week or two, maybe 3. But I'd like to do it in the next week or two. Even if I don't find it, I would like to show how I've been, you know, and I don't do it very often, but I'd like to show how I go about finding the end city, the end portal, to get into the end. Because and there, if there's easier ways, by all means use it. Absolutely, by all means use it. But it's the easier way I found it. I used to do, and this one doesn't work too bad either. What you do is give me a second. This one I can just sort of explain real quick, and but like you get one of those, because I got the stuff to make the eyes. I just don't know if I have the villager to buy the eyes from. The stuff you get from the Endermen when they die. You mix those with either blaze rods or the blaze powder, and it creates a thing that when you throw it up in the air, what'll happen is it'll go from where you throw it, and it'll float. So like hypothetically, you'd be standing on this, and this is also the way you got to do it for the second way I'm gonna try and do a video on. And like you want to write down 653 by 939. So you got a starting coordinate, and then what you do is, and you can mark it with this and write it down when you get done. Well, you throw it up, and then you look around now. Like let's say let's say it goes to here and it stops here. This is as far as it goes. Well, then you know from here to here, and then what you do is you put a block here. Like I usually use jack-o'-lanterns, but you put a block here, you put a block here, you put a couple in between, and like this is pretty straight. And I'm doing it for example. Well, you might have one where it comes out here, and so you'll have to jig jag. But what you do is you just make a line of them here, and then when you get to this one, you put like a jack o' lantern here, here, and here. Then you put one here, here, and here, and then you got like a little jack o' lantern arrow, and it's pointing that way. Then what you do is it doesn't even have to be exact. This is like a real quick way. What you do is you go to, say, like 700 by 1,000, or you go find 600 by 1,000, and then what you do is you basically do another one, and then what should happen is you should get one that'll point this way somehow. In theory, you get one. You might get one that points back, but you just do that, and then you do the same thing. You mark it with an arrow, and then you come back on this line and you do. Does he got a trident? Does he got a trident? No. Okay. And you can kind of get roughly in the area, and what you want to do is you want to just make little jumps, and because I've done this before where I went like 2,000, 5,000, and then I think I ended up hooking up with another end portal. But you can get a guesstimate, like if you do it, like if you're 650 by 950, and it's pointing that way. And then you find one, like you go to 600 by 1,000 and it's pointing you this way. Well, then you can start to narrow in on it. It'll take like 4 or 5 tries, but what you want to do is as soon as you get on the other side of it, and this is like an old electrician's trick. The one guy knew he did some of that electronics when he was in the Navy. And if you're testing, like if you got a fault, like, and this would be something outside your house, this is for people that are like doing a weapon, like doing a Navy vessel, something fucking huge. Well, what you do is you figure out the two ends. Like, okay, there's a problem here at this switch, and there's a problem here at, say, this weapon system. Well, what you do is you go and look at the middle. And if you go to the middle and you can suddenly reach the weapon system or you can suddenly reach the switch, then the problem is somewhere on that side. Like if you go from the weapon system here to the switch over here and you go to the middle and you can reach the switch, you're getting a signal from that. Well, then it's between the middle and the weapon system. And then you go to the middle there. And then again, if you get a signal from here to the weapons or the controls, then it's in between here and the weapons system. If you actually get a connection with the weapon system, now you know that it's between the midpoint and the quarter point, and you just start to narrow in on it. Well, that's the way I originally did this, and I took it from that idea from him. And then the other way to do it, and that's how you get those coordinates. Like I said, you get the starting coordinate where you threw it from, and you need the exact coordinate of where it landed. And then what you do is all you need is one other spot like that. And then what I'll do is I'll look it up. I'm going to have to, I don't know exactly what they call it, but it's a mathematical thing. It's an equation where what you do is you put in 2 sets of coordinates. Like you put in 999, mark 999, and you put in mark, 4,000 by mark 4,000. You put those in, and the equation tells you where those two lines meet. And then what happens is you can pretty much go there, and you're gonna be in the ballpark. Usually, I don't think I've ever failed finding. Maybe I will in the stream, but I don't think I've ever failed finding an end city that way. And we'll do that. But the first thing is I got to get my Eye of Ender or whatever the hell those things. I got to make some of those. I've got the blaze rods. I'd like at least 10. Because sometimes those things vanish when you throw them up, or sometimes they fall down a crevice and you don't get them. But that's... I'm going to wait until I can sleep, and then I will head over, because it's starting to get, yeah, sundown. And I will go get my emeralds. Yeah. Okay. I'll get to show you a little bit of what I did. Not all of it, 'cause some of it's on this side of the mountain, some of it's right on the end. But I gotta, I don't remember doing a lot of streams, so I have gotten a little bit done here and a little bit done there, at least a little. And, but yeah, because I'm really trying to get a book of mending, at least one, because I'd like it for a lot of other stuff too, but I need at least one, because that's pretty much what I'm waiting for on my raid farm, because I don't want to lose, I don't want to have to keep hunting for tridents because they're breaking. I just don't. Okay. Now, if you look, I got a lot of that done. I ain't got it all done, but if you look right where my crosshairs are, that is not all the way around, but I got pretty much most of that on the side, I think. It still needs to be done on the front a little bit. But it's a work of, to me that I don't know. It doesn't look natural, but to me it looks sharp. I mean, for me, I'm pretty proud of it. This, even when I was healthy, this is just not a game I'm great at. I really am not. But for me, I think that looks pretty good. It's I don't know if I'll ever get any better with what's going on with me, but I'm actually pretty happy with that. I really am. And if you look closely at it, you're going to see some inconsistencies, and that's part of what's going on with me. I used to do that a lot when I was healthier. I would do these things up in the sky, and I'd make like perfect circles and that. I don't know if I can exactly do them. I mean, I can try, but I'm going to end up redoing a lot of it. Same thing when I put down these roads and stuff. I try to line them up perfectly, and I don't know how many times I thought I was having a good day. I was clear-headed, and then like I find out, oh my God, I was off on something, and I go and look, and it just multiple mistakes, and nothing lines up the way it should have. It doesn't have to, but it was my intention. I don't see any tridents with these guys. If I see a trident, I think I'm gonna go fucking kill somebody. And then I don't know, but I think I'm gonna move my villager farm over here. But I'm not sure if that's far enough. I got to make sure it's far enough away. I got to find a spot over here where I might even put it underground if I go underground far enough. And I don't. I'll have to look it up. I don't know what the limit is, but I know you got to be so far away so that you're. And that was something. Silent Whisper said when he was making the guide on how to do this. He goes, he said it'll all work. He said it'll all work as long as you don't have any villagers or beds nearby. And that's something I've done in the past and I didn't realize it. But I usually have a bed in the outpost somewhere. And the way he was talking, that will throw off your spawning radius. It I don't completely understand it, but it's like something he said. So I I might not even be able to have these beds. So my fishing area is eventually going to have to move, but I think that might be far enough if I put the villagers over there. But if not, I'll uh, I'll have to find something maybe over here or over there. I'll have to do a little recon on it, but just move that after I get the villagers I need for this. I'll find a good spot for it where I can have it and just keep it nearby in case I need more villagers. And yeah, this I got this. I think last. Oh. Hang on a sec. I know this is a little hokey, but I'm trying. I really am. I got my official fishing hat on. Uh, Yeah, how's everybody doing? It was not a horrible day. I hope the weather was good where you guys. It was absolutely not a horrible day. And I fished a bit when I was a kid. My dad fished, and then he quit though. He didn't go fishing that much as we got older. And Um, one of my grandpa on my mother's side, he lived in a place, and the guy who owned it, he rented the place, and he didn't officially take care of the place. I mean, it was a rundown shack. I don't think he paid that much, but the people I think were halfway, at least as far as I know, the people there were pretty decent to him, and the people that rented it to him, they let him know, well, hey, when your family's here, because they had a private lake there. They go, when your family's here, feel free to fish, you know. And one of my cousins, I think, they got a catfish there. I've never had a catfish. I don't really have anything against them. I've never had one. My dad never went after them. But they had, I think it was smallmouth bass. And we'd fish from the side. And that's the only fishing I had ever done. And the one job I had, I was renting the basement of guy I worked with. He was pretty cool, but his wife was just a total fucking bitch. I mean, there's just no way to be nice about it. Um, she I don't know what the fucking deal was. I really don't. I wish I could, but like, and I'll be honest with you, at that moment in my life, if there was a problem in a relationship, mine included. If there was a problem, I would say it was usually at least 50% of the guy, if not more. And that was the first time where, I started like, wow, man, he, because, the thing is, this is not an opinion. I really don't think this is an opinion because I live there. If I hadn't lived there, I'd have probably still had that feeling. But I lived there, and I saw the way she fucking treated me. I want to be clear. Now, this is my opinion. Pretty much think I'm right, but this is just an opinion. She was one of those, like if you saw the movie Mean Girls, like she was one of the fucking mean girls in that when she was school. She was real pretty. She just treated everybody like shit, and everybody put up with her because she had like beer flavored nipples and was really hot. I don't float that way. I really don't. And when I got in there, she's like trying to boss me around. I'm paying rent. You're not my boss. You're a landlord. Generally speaking, when you are when you're owning a business, renting a house is a business, you're generally really nice to the clients. She was a fucking bitch. And I was supposed to help out with the mowing, and that's fine, but oh my god. All right, you're going to fucking die. Oh my god, what the fuck? I'm trying to have a fishing stream here. That's fucked up, man. It's like, what the fuck? But no, and this was something, God, Oberman, because at one point, he, I don't know, maybe he was like that the entire time he was working at MSNBC, but like he was talking about it, he rented from one of the Trump buildings. And, and he said, he goes, I got to be honest with you. I've heard the stories about how much of an asshole he is, how bossy he is. And he figured he must have learned this from his dad. He goes, whenever he saw me in the building, and he knew I was a customer, he goes, he was always polite. And my buddy was. But, she'd sit there and she's like, oh, well, and she didn't say a goddamn thing. I was meeting, really looking back on it, buddy of mine wanted to let me know about a something, and so I told him he invited me over, and I had told him, yeah, I'll be over after work. It was one of the guys I played pool with, and but I tried it because I was actually interested in some of. That's the only reason I did. I was actually interested in some of the stuff. I bought it mostly. I didn't go around trying to sell this, but it was a mid-level marketing thing, a little pyramid scheme. Well, I had already told him I was coming over, and I don't know if I had a phone number to get a hold of him. I knew where he lived, and it wasn't that far from where they were. Well, I get home, and she goes, "Well, you got to mow the lawn today." I go, "No, I don't." And she goes, "Yeah, you do. You have to." I go, "Look." I go, "I'm only going to tell you this a couple more times." I go, "I'm not fucking mowing the lawn today." I go, "I got somewhere I got to be." And she's like a little fucking kid, like a little 3-year-old fucking bitch. Don, and she's just starting this shit. And he looks at me. I go, "Look, I told somebody I'm coming over." I go, "Look, I don't mind helping out, but I go, I'll tell you right now, if this is the way it's going to be," I go, "I'm not mowing." I go, "You're not going to sit there and drop this shit on me 5 minutes before we're supposed to do it. It's just not going to happen." And he told her, he goes, "Did you tell him before?" She's like, "Well, no." He goes, "He's right. You can't just drop this on him." And I go, "Look, I'll be happy to mow it tomorrow. But I go, just make sure all your kids' stuff is picked up tomorrow." And this is the way she was. She was just a little fucking bitch. So the next day, when I'm getting ready, she knows. I let her know a day. I didn't wait till, "Oh, I'm home from work. I'm gonna mow the lawn. Get your fucking ass in gear." And that might have been the last time I mowed the lawn. 'Cause I can't remember if I did it anymore, but I know I had a talk with Don. I told him, I go, "Look, I really don't care, but this ain't gonna work." And because what happened was I told her, I go, "I'll be happy to mow it the next night," And Don said, "That's fine." Don, and I get home the next day and she had run the fucking sprinkler, so the grass was all wet. Wasn't my fucking mower, and she had her kids out there, and all the fucking toys were in the lawn. And I go, and she goes, "Well, she goes, you can't mow because the grass is wet." I go, "Well," "I'm either mowing tonight or you guys can mow the lawn." I go, "I'll talk to Don about it." But I go, "This shit ain't going to work." I go, "This is not going to work for me." I go, "One way or another, whether I got to leave or not," I go, "I will not be mowing the lawn if I don't do it tonight." She goes, "Well, it's really hot." I go, "Are you listening to me?" And I go, "And I hope you got all the toys," because I go, "I'm going to go out there and mow it." I go, "If the mower gets wrecked because I go, "You knew I was going to mow tonight." And I go, "If the mower gets wrecked because you fucking wet the lawn," I go, "That's your fucking problem." I go, "I'm not cleaning the mower up." And I go, "I hope you got all your kids' toys." I started running the kids' toys over with the mower. And that was the last time she pulled that shit. But I can't remember if I mowed the lawn after that or not. I really don't remember. But I had a talk with my buddy about it. I told him, I go, "Look, this ain't gonna." I go, "This is not gonna float." I go, "I don't know." I'm the customer here. I go, I'm not her indentured servant. I'm not her fucking slave. I go, "I'm the fucking customer here." I go, "I am renting a room here." I go, "You guys should be nicer to me." I go, "I shouldn't have to put up." And he goes, "Yeah, you're kind of right." I go, "I know I'm right." And but yeah, that I honestly can't. I'm not gonna do the. I'm gonna start throwing out the shit with the curse of vanishing, and I can't remember if I mowed anymore. But that was them 2 days where I know I don't remember any more bullshit. Sweet Christmas! I got a mending. I didn't know. I was starting to think we weren't gonna get any of these. Ooh, we are gonna put this. I hope I get more than one. I'm just gonna do the whole stream. I'm gonna fish for as long as I can, but tomorrow, and I might even do another fishing stream tomorrow. These are relaxing, and I don't have to do a whole lot. If I'm gonna be successful, I can't look up UF. I can do stuff from memory, but I can't look it up and go over the notes and everything because I actually, cause you sit there, I'm either not going to be fishing or I'm not going to be doing anything except for wearing out my fishing pole. Because when those bubbles come in, you got to hit it. You can't be fucking around with a notepad and other stuff. But no, the That I don't know what the fuck was wrong, but that. And then there was one time I don't know if he was there or not, but I'd been there for a couple months, and the I'd been there for a couple months, and uh, she goes, well, she goes, if I left Don, you'd have me, wouldn't you? And I just looked at her and started laughing. I go, no, and she she was really surprised, and she goes, what? And I go, you heard me. I go, I said no. I go, you could be the last woman on earth, and I would not want. And she's like, what? I told her, you've been nothing but a pain in my ass since I got here, and I don't get a kick out of it. I really don't. Well, that pissed her off, and she tried to hit me with a fucking broom. And you can either believe me or not, but when you study the Filipino martial arts, there's a thing you learn on the human arm. It works for the legs too, but I did more with the arms. Um, uh, some of the places where if you cut a person, it just disables the arm. If you smash them with your knuckles or if you hit them with an elbow, it does the same thing. The knife is much more effective. The elbow is more effective than the knuckle. And I disabled her arm. When she swung that broom at me, I literally took it away from her and threw it across the house. And then when she tried to hit me, I just went like this. And her fucking arm went limp and she freaked out. And I told her, I go, I don't know what's going on, but I go, you are going to stop this because I go, I guarantee you will not be abusing me like you do your husband. I go, I will not put up with it. I go, if you keep attacking me, I go, you're either gonna end up in the hospital or somewhere worse. I go, it ain't gonna fucking work. I go, this better be the last time you do this. Well, she went to him and he came up and talked to me about it when she was not. He goes, did you hit her? I go, I hit her arm. And he looked at me. I go, did she tell you she tried to hit me with a broom? He goes, no, she did not. I go, she swung a broom at my head, and I go, I took it away from her and threw it across the room, told her to fucking grow up and knock it off. And I go, she tried to hit me, and just, I go, try to hit me. I go, really don't care how fast you go. Well, he tried to hit me half speed. He was being decent about, and I just clocked him, and like, the bicep is a place, the crazy bone is a place. I don't know what it's called, but there's a couple spots around the wrist and the hand. Well, his arm went limp. And I go, that's what I did to her. And I go, if you'd have been trying to hit me as hard as she did, I go, it's pretty bad, right? And he said, yeah, because his fucking arm went limp. And I go, if you're trying to hit me, like the harder you try to hit me, the worse it is for you. And I go, she got it pretty bad. And he looked at me, and I don't even think I hit her with a knuckle. I think I poked her with a finger. But I told him, I go, look, you want me to leave, I'll leave. I go, I'm not putting up with that shit. I go, whatever's wrong with her, I go, you got to deal with it. I'm just not. Well, he was pretty cool about it. Well, then, and she just kept it up. She just did other shit. Like, their dog got run over, and I brought a family member's dog over for the night because he missed me, and didn't get to see me as much living on the other end of town. And I brought him over the one weekend, because we had a 3-day week, and I figured, well, I'll bring him over. And then he really enjoyed it. He got to sleep on my bed. I got to feed him and, feed him snacks and stuff along with his food. Well, then all of a sudden she gets real possessive. She goes, oh, well, you can just leave that dog here. I go, no, it's not my dog. Well, yeah, but I go, no buts. I go, don't you understand English? I go, this is the way it is. I go, I'm telling you no. I go, drop it. Well, yeah, I go, are you deaf or are you stupid? I go, I told you no, drop it. Well, then she did. And then I fucking brought like a Super Nintendo over or something like that. And I had her hooked up to my TV downstairs. So I come home from work the one day, and she's got it hooked up to the TV upstairs. That's not community property. That's my shit. She came and stole it from downstairs. She probably ransacked my room when I was at work, just snooping around, because she was a stay-at-home mom. And she did that shit like all the fucking time, and it's like, what are you doing, and then she's, oh, you can just come up and play with the kids, and I'm like, Yeah, I did that for a little bit, and then when the kids left, I took it downstairs. I think I did. I might have left it up there. But what happened was when we were getting ready to move, uh, it was one less thing I had to move. I took it over and let my brother hang on it. He used it. And I told him right out, I go, well, you can hang on to it for a little bit. I go, after I get moved, I go, I'm gonna probably want it back. And he said, well, no, that's fine. Just whenever you need it. And I go, but it'll be a few weeks. Well, then she was a total fucking bitch about. And again, it's mine. It's absolutely mine. And she kept that up. And I got to the point where, you know what? I ain't bringing it back because I didn't think I was going to be there that much longer. And then, and again, just total fucking bitch, acting like, she was the queen of everything. And like, she's like, well, if you're not going to bring your gaming thing back, you can, because Don told me, like, hey, when we move over there, there's a pool table in the basement. Use it whenever you want because you are in the basement. And then she was just a total bitch. Well, then what I did was she goes, well, you can't play pool. I go, okay. And she heard me banging it around. She goes, I told you. And I go, look, I'm paying rent here. And I go, I'm not playing pool. I go, I am practicing. And she's like, I go, hey, look, I go, do you really want to do this again? Go away. I go, I live here. I'm paying rent. I go, you just fuck off right now. I think Don was at work. I think he went to second shift so he didn't have to fucking deal with her shit. And and I did. I kept my word. I did not play pool, but I would practice on it just to set her off. And then she's like, "Well, when are you bringing that gaming?" So I go, "You know what? After the shit you've pulled, I go, I don't think I'm ever bringing it back." And I go, "If I do, I go, you leave it down here because I go, it doesn't belong to the house. I go, you just leave it alone. I go, quit taking my stuff, quit borrowing my movies." That was another thing she'd do. And she just looked at me. I go, "Look, I don't want to hear it." I go, "Stop." I go, "I pay rent here." I go, "I am the customer." I go, "Just because I'm paying rent doesn't mean I'm an indentured servant." I go, "I'm not taking this crap from you." And something along those lines. Well, what was funny is I put up with her shit. I didn't go whining to Don every time it happened, but after about 2 or 3 months, I'm like, I can't deal with this anymore. And I went in and talked to Don at work on second shift, and I told him, I go, dude, I've been giving this a long thought ever since she tried to hit me with the broom, and every time she was just a fucking bitch about the dog. I told him, I go, I'm moving out. I go, I can't deal with this shit anymore. And he goes, oh man, I'm so relieved. And I go, what do you? I go, you're relieved? He goes, well, he goes, she hasn't been complaining. You haven't. Well, he goes, you never really complained because she hasn't been. He goes, I thought you guys were fucking. And I looked at him. I go, no. I go, that I don't. I go, Don. I go, I see the way she treats you. I go, that would never happen. And he goes, well, I'm really glad to hear that. And he goes, yeah, I completely understand. And oh my God, I just, but he's like, oh man, I'm so relieved. I go, relieved? I go, what? And he goes, I thought you guys were fucking. You've been so quiet. I haven't heard any complaints. And because I really didn't spend that much time at home. I was a homebody. I would stay there, watch TV, practice on the pool table, do stuff, read. And I got to where I just went out like every fucking night. I'm like, I ain't dealing with this shit. And I think that was another because either I didn't stay that long, or I had given up mowing the lawn at that point because that was the thing when they moved. They wanted more rent. Here's what they did. They owned the house, but they were making payments on it. And he had finally paid off that first house to where they were able to refinance the mortgage and get it down to like a 10 or a 15-year lease. So it'd be paid off quick. And what they did was whatever their mortgage was, that's what they charged for rent usually. So, basically they had a roommate who paid for they had a roommate that paid their mortgage payments. And they had, because the mortgage went up because they bought like a really big house. And he would have left her long before that, but because I said something, I go, because this is when I was leaving, I go, dude, I go, why the fuck do you put up with this shit? And he goes, well, he goes, I don't want to give up half my stuff. And he goes, and I don't even know if I'd get half. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, he goes, we've been making the payments, but he goes, because she had gotten, she was real hot in high school, and she got in a car accident. Her body was all banged up. I mean, she was still mildly attractive, but she was not nearly as attractive as she was when she was younger, before the accident. But she still had that fucking attitude. And but I told him, I go, dude, I go, I'm leaving, but I gotta seriously ask, I go, why the fuck do you put up with that shit? I go, I'm there. I go, I watch the whole thing. I go, usually when I see a guy in a relationship that's bad, usually it's like, close to 50-50. There was one other case where that wasn't the case. But usually, it was 50-50, at least the guy's fault. And he just said, he goes, I don't want to give up half everything I own. And he goes, if we get a divorce, she's probably going to get most of the house. And I go, why? And he goes, because I go, she don't work. He goes, yeah, but he goes, she had all this money from that accident she got in, and she put the money, she put the money from the accident in as the big down payment on that. And and again, I'm not going to say this is bad. I'm not ripping on it a bit, but usually in a divorce, it's one of the few areas where sometimes women come out as good or better than the man does. And I don't necessarily know that that's a bad thing. I really don't. Come on, I would really like one more mending book before the end of the stream here. But no, it was just weird. It was just absolutely weird. And then the, this was like a number of years ago, and I'm gonna leave it kind of vague. You can kind of interpret whatever you want from this. If I ever told that story about the guy breaking a window with his ass, this is the guy. The guy I lived with. We were at work the one day, and we had this one foreman. I found this out later. His wife worked at GM, where I would end up working later. And they did this thing at GM where whenever they had a water leak, what they would do is they would put tarps up to catch it, and they'd hook a hose to it, and they'd have the hose go to a drain. And he started doing that. He talked to him, and I don't know if he asked permission or if he just did it, but they had a water leak, and he put this shit up, and he had a hose dripping and everything else. Well, the assistant plant manager saw it, and I think it's when we had customers, and he flipped out. He's like, you can't have this. They see this water dripping, and then they did one thing to it, and it was dripping on one of the. If I might be remembering this wrong, this is a while ago, but I think it was dripping on one of the little data collection systems for the quality. They had these computers where we could go in like every 15 minutes or every 20 minutes, we had to go and measure the parts on some jobs and put them in, and then it was a statistical process control, SPC or some shit like that. And it was actually a useful thing. This is something that I don't break it down and do data like that, but there's things that happen where you can basically look at it the way we were taught to look at it, where you look for spastic shit and you look for trends. And that's why they did this, because when you started having defects, if you just had occasional defects, that usually told you that it wasn't a process problem, that it was something else. But like if you tracked it and you saw that like, oh well, it's centering here. Like if it's supposed to be like a 1.5 inch cut, and these weren't, that would be way big for what we did, but just to throw it out there, if you were supposed to have a 1.5, and this is the way they call the specs out, if you were supposed to have a 1.5 inch cut of like the flange around the part, plus or minus a quarter of an inch. Well, then you could basically be like 1 1/4, 1 1 and 1/4 inch to 1 3/4 inch cut. And that's one thing they would teach you in this, that if you are tracking this every 15 minutes and you see that most of your readings are on that 1 1/2, and you're occasionally getting some that are either too low or too high, but 95% of your cuts are like an inch and a half, right on target. Well, then they would, you wouldn't want to go. And then they tell you this. This means you don't want to go and adjust your cut, because your cut is where it's supposed to be, and you either got to accept it. That's the way it's going to run, or you have to look for what is causing the cut to vary like that. Because, like, before this, and we all did it. You get a couple bad parts and you go adjust the cut. Well, this stuff started to show you that your cut wasn't wrong. It was just drifting on occasion. And like on those machines, it could be the ball bearings in the oven were bad. Could be that you had a broken clamp ring or something. There were things that could cause your cut to move, and you'd basically have to start looking for that stuff. You wouldn't want to touch the cut because that was clearly not the problem. And but it was dripping on one of those. Well, then they basically took the hose and they tied it up out of the way so it wasn't dripping where it could be seen. And they just left it. They never fixed it. And it sat there. Well, this guy, I lived with, he was a good guy, but, it's like impulse control issues. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying that's what he had. Well, he just walked up to it and he blew and sucked on it like you would do if you were going to siphon gas. And I was standing there watching, and like, I swear to God, it looked like about 2 or 3 gallons of rancid rainwater that had come through the roof, coagulated, picked up plastic from the fumes from us melting the plastic and the fires and stuff. All of that stuff came down, and it just coagulated for months and months and months in there. And it came out the side, it came down, it came out so fast that you could see his cheeks they blew up, and this water around his mouth was still around the hose, and it just shot out in between the hose and his mouth. And he looked a little freaked out, and his face didn't look good. You could tell by his face this did not taste good. And our boss came over, and he was a pretty good guy. That boss we had, he was one of the better bosses for being a guy too. He was actually one of the better bosses I think I've ever had in my life. And he just came up and he's like, "What is wrong with you?" And he was trying not to laugh, and he goes, "What is wrong with you? What about that hose hanging in the air spoke to you that you just needed to go suck on it?" And I told him, I go, "Hey," I go, "look," I go, "you do what you want, but," I go, "if he doesn't learn from this," I go, "I don't think there's anything you can say that's going to change his mind." And he looked at me, he goes, "You might have a point." And I told him, I go, "Why don't you come over to my toolbox?" I go, "I got some gum in it." And I go, "Do you want like one?" And I got over there, I got a pack of gum. I go, "Do you just want 1 or 2 pieces?" He goes, "Can I have a whole pack?" He put the whole pack in and chewed it for like, maybe he didn't put the whole pack. I think he put all but 1 or 2 pieces in, and he chewed it. He just chewed it solidly for minutes and was spitting, as the saliva built up. And then when he got done, he cleaned it out, and then I think he either had 1 or 2 more pieces, whatever he had left. And when I got done, I go, "Did that help?" He goes, "I ain't gonna say it didn't help," but he goes, "Oh my God," he goes, "I can still taste it." And I told him, I go, "Look, I don't know if mouthwash will help." I go, "You just might have to deal with that. You might want to go to a doctor." I go, I don't know. I go, "That stuff's been sitting in there for a while." I go, "That's probably really nasty." And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, if I start feeling sick in any way," he goes, "I'll go to the doctor." Well, after I left, I want to say this is right after I left. After I left, uh, he must have been back on day shift or something like that. But because he had been on, yeah, because I think he had left. No, he hadn't left his wife because he's still living there. Well, anyways, when I was living with him, I'm pretty sure he went to second shift. I think I might have been later, and but he was still on day shift at this point. He was back on day shift at this point, and our lead operator, he's either the lead operator or a supervisor. He uh, he got a call and he got done. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be busy because I got to redo the schedule." And I go, "Why?" He goes, "Well," he goes, I don't know what to make of it, but he goes, Don just calling. He's not coming in, you know." And oh, Did I get another one? Did I get another one? Oh, cha-ching! I got a trident. I got a trident. But I think I can't remember the name of the guy, and I don't want to give the wrong name. Really, there's no reason not to give these names. But the guy that he was riding with, this guy would pick him up, or it was his week to pick him up, and he uh, he got there because he said, yeah, he goes, Don apparently ain't coming in, and he goes, I'm I'm not really sure. He goes, I think what they were telling me isn't true. I'm just gonna log it. He don't miss that much anyways, you know, that kind of thing. And what happened was uh, when the guy who was giving him a ride got there, he was damn near crawling into the place. And what had happened was when he showed up, Don tried to moon him. He pulled his pants down, stuck his ass into the window, pulled the curtain back. Well, it was like January or February. It was middle of winter, cold as shit. It was morning, like it was like five because I think they were coming in early. It was like 5 6 in the morning, and it was probably somewhere between 10 or 20 below. That we had a pretty cold winter. This is the thing that got me when I went down to Indiana. You had all these people pissing and moaning over the winter. Most of the winters down there, I didn't wear gloves. I didn't wear a winter coat. And on the rare occasions where I did wear a winter coat, it was usually unzipped because it was just not that cold down there. And they'd freak out. And then we had an unseasonably cold winter, and and Wisconsin had it too. It was in the Midwest, but we had one like that. The last time we had one like that was when I was in grade school. So we're talking, you know, at least 20, 25, 30 years ago at this point. And, down there, as bad as it was like a normal Wisconsin winter. I actually had to wear a winter coat. One time I forgot to wear gloves, and my cans were just cold as shit. I needed them that day, and I just wasn't used to carrying them. I normally just leave them in my coat, and then when I get my winter coat out, there's a winter hat in there, there's gloves in there, and I hadn't had them in there because I just didn't need them. And but these people were, and I'm just like, they said something. They go, isn't it just bothering you? And I'm like, and that all of us Wisconsin people were the same way. We're like, this is kind of like a normal winter for us. This is normal. This is what we're used to. And they go, really? And we're like, yeah. The whole time we've been down here, because again, it wasn't the first year down there. I think it was like third, fourth, or fifth. I was down there for almost 10 years. Like the third, fourth, or fifth fifth or sixth winter that we were down there. And a bunch of us were all telling the people we worked with, this is like a normal winter for us. We were really enjoying it when we were getting these light winters down here. And the only thing is, we got just about as much snow because we live right near a lake down there, and they would talk about the lake effect that we would get. And that was a real thing. That was absolutely a real thing. Hang on. Yeah, I'm glad I got these too. I can make some, but I needed some potions. And instead of making the glass bottles, I'm like, well, I got some over there from fishing, so I came over and got what I needed. And but but Jeff came in damn near crawling in. He was still laughing so hard, and like fucking the lead mechanic. He was either lead mechanic or he'd already been made supervisor. He was like a military medevac pilot, and they put him through a management training. And they actually did it right. I'll give them credit for this. They started out training them from the ground up, and then they slowly moved them up. And this is the way the management we had there was, because a lot of them had started when this was like a small time thing, and they started out running these machines. Like we had one guy, he was like a superintendent. He was like one step up from what the foreman then. And he knew how to run I don't know if he could still run them, but he knew at one point how to run those machines. And what he would do is, because I watched him do it, if he saw the operator was busy, was actually working hard, and the guy was running out of his roll was running out, I actually watched. It wasn't very often because he wasn't out on the floor all that much. But if he saw that they were actually busy, what he would do is he'd get in the machine. The roll was ready. He'd put the roll on. He'd feed it through. He'd go up and either tell the guy or he'd run the controls, get it fed through, and he'd do that to help him out. And if you were standing there, he'd be like, hey, if I feed this through, can you hook it up out there? He was a pretty decent guy. But if he saw you were someone that was fucking the dog, if you were sitting around, I mean, again, not anything you were going to get yelled at, but if he saw that you were sitting around or shooting the shit or whatever, what he'd do is he'd just cut the roll off and let it go through, and then when air started blowing through your tool, you'd have to go get it. And he was a really decent guy. He really was. And there were a lot of them there like that. They had started out like we did, and I think they knew that, hey, when we want these people in there, we got to have people that know how to, because they had run into it where they had people they had hired who didn't know anything. And they usually were a fucking disaster because, well, we had one guy. I don't know where this guy came from. I guess he came from a bread factory or something like that. Well, we had when I was at GM, we had bosses like this too. They tell you to do something, and they didn't know a fucking thing, and you try to tell them it wouldn't work. Well, this one guy we worked with there, I don't think he lasted all that long. I can't remember. I don't. This is really a long time ago, and I'm a little lightheaded today. But I don't think he was there when I left. I don't think he lasted too long. Because he would come and he'd tell you to do something, and you'd be like, well, it ain't going to work. And then he'd be, well, I'm your boss. I'm telling you to do it. So you do it for him. He fucking hated me over that. There was something he told me to do, and I okay, boss, I'll do it. And I don't know how much shit we made. But I put it in the box. I ran it. I put it in the box. I measured it, marked it as bad, quarantined the boxes, and I think that's what it was. I can't remember. Either that or the machine wouldn't even run like that. But I think that at least once I quarantined a whole bunch of parts, and I don't even think that went above him. Like the next day he goes, why'd you quarantine all that stuff? I go, look, I tried to tell you that wasn't going to work. You ordered me to do it. So I go, I did it. I go, now you guys got to go through the parts and pick out all the bad ones. I go, they're mostly bad. And he goes, Well, I didn't. I go, look, you told me to run. I go, look, you want to go talk to your boss right now? I go, I really, and I told him, I go, I really don't give a shit if I get fired over this. I go, I really don't. I go, you don't know what you're doing. You're here. You're getting the paycheck. I go, if you don't want to learn, could you at least sit down and stay out of our way? Seriously. I go, I'm happy to go talk to your boss with you. It doesn't bother me a bit. Um, I really am, but I go, you told me to do this, and I go, I got witnesses. I go, I got witnesses that heard you. I go, they heard me tell you that it wasn't gonna work. They heard you order me to do it. I go, you deal with it. I go, if you want me to deal with it, I go, happy to tell this. I'm happy to get everybody that witnessed it. Tell your boss, and then let's see what happens. Well, he went on. Oh, he fucking rode my ass every chance he got after that. Well, I think he did it to a few other people, so they finally dealt with. I think they finally got rid of him, and that's where they kind of learned. Like, look, and we got that one guy. He was another one. He didn't really know anything about us, but he was, like I said, this is one of the best bosses I've ever had, and he was a guy. I didn't find him attractive, but he was one of the better ones I ever had. I had a couple like that down when I was down in Indiana, and there were a few like that in Janesville here. But there was something he wanted to do, and I looked at him. I go, I think somebody had warned him about what I had done to that other guy. I go, look, it ain't gonna work. I go, if you want me to do it, I'm happy to do it, but I go, it just ain't going to work. I go, I'm not going to argue with you about it. He said, look, and he was really cool. He said, I'm your boss. Do it. He said, look, you're right. I don't know. He goes, I'm just asking you to try it. He goes, I'd like to see the process. I might have some questions for you. And he goes, I promise you, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and I won't blame you for it. I won't try to blame. He goes, I will look at it, and he goes, I will try to find another. I'll try and think of something else. But if you show me it doesn't work, I'll move on. And unless I find another way, he goes, I just want to see what happens. And I'm like, okay. I go, that's fair enough. So we did it, and he did. He asked a few questions, and he goes, well, can't you? And I go, well, I can do this. And I made some adjustments, and I showed him what was going to happen. And I go, and he said, well, that ain't fixing it. I go, exactly. I go, it's different, but I go, it ain't gonna fix it. And then I go, I can do this, and I go, for this problem, that's about all I can do. I go, no, I go, somebody else might be able to do more, but I go, I'm not that bad at this, and I go, that's all I know how to do. He goes, anything else I could adjust on this is not, as far as I know, is not going to affect. And he was a man of his word. He dropped it, and then every now and then, it wasn't even that. It wasn't like he was nagging you 3 times a day. It wasn't like he was nagging you every day or even a couple times a month. Every now and then he'd have something come up, or we'd see a new problem, and he would be trying to fix it. And there was something else, because we were on third shift. And they were trying to make us out like, we really weren't doing that much. Well, he actually knew how to do the statistics and crunch the numbers. He crunched all the numbers on a balance sheet. They were all factual numbers. And he showed them that actually third shift was outperforming the other 2 shifts. We just didn't get any credit for it because we were running like a skeleton crew. But he showed them that we were, per capita or whatever terms he used. For the manpower we had, we were turning over more setups. We had higher quality, and it was good. And then they kind of started having a little more respect for us on third shift than what they did. We were always treated like the armpit of the 3 shifts. And then he showed him, he crunched on the second shift was the worst. And yeah, he was a good boss. He really was. And that was the cool thing. Most of the people that were in the higher level there, again, because they had started out, they were pretty decent people. They were for the most part easy to get. Every now and then you'd see one of them guys get mad at some stupid shit, but they were good. I mean, it was, be honest with you, there were good people there. I don't know, but still that guy came in. He's like, yeah, he went to moon me. He pulled the curtain back and stuck his ass. And he goes, as soon as his ass hit the window, he goes, it was like, I think it was like about 20 below. his 90-degree ass hit that 20-degree window, and he goes, it fucking exploded. And then we were all fucking losing it, and he was damn near crying. He was laughing so hard, and he goes, he's got to go to the hospital, and we're like, hospital? He goes, it cut the shit out of his ass. He was off for a couple days, but I guess the glass, as it exploded, the rest of it fell down, and it just cut his ass to shreds. It's like, oh my god, what the fuck? Oh, that was fucking hilarious. Uh, I'm sorry, that just I'm a little nostalgic today. Um, I think I'm only gonna get that. I don't even know. I'll check what time it is. It's over an hour, so I'm just gonna basically go as long. I'd like to get one more mending book. I really would, because what I'll do is if I get one more mending book, I'll I'll put it on one of the tridents, and the other one I'll put it on a weapon I got, or I will put it on a piece of armor. I don't know which. Uh, I'm not kidding you. It took me so long to get, because I pulled in a few books, and it took me a while to get a mending book. I was starting to think maybe they fixed it so you don't get mending books when you're fishing anymore. They definitely tweaked the ratio and the balance, or whatever you want to call it. Uh, that was fucking hilarious. That dude was he basically damn near had to crawl in that. He was just like, I couldn't fucking believe it. Oh, I gotta tell you, you can say whatever you want, but that guy was one of the funnest guys to work with. Like I said, he had really bad impulse control, but my God, guy was one of the funnest guys to work with. He really was. Holy shit. The thing is, if I think he's doing a home business, he's doing his own business now, and that's working. That sounds like that's working out really good for him. It really is. But if he was still working to this day, he'd be like he'd be like a sexual harassment lawsuit. Thing is though, he usually knew. I'm usually pretty good about this too. You know who you can joke with and who you can't, and because people shouldn't have to put up with that. If e- even if it's not an issue, even if it's not a real issue, even if they're just being fussy, if you got somebody that's bothered by something, it's really not that hard to just leave them alone. You know. Now, if they're not supposed to be in your area and they're always hanging out around, well, then if it's something that isn't really a thing, it's one of those things where, hey, it really shouldn't be a problem, but, little Miss Tight Ass is going to be a fucking problem about it. Uh, then they need to grow up a little bit. But it's like if you're talking to them, if they're not walking in on stuff, you really should. I mean, again, within reason. Uh, Even stuff that might not be a lawsuit, even stuff that's not, nothing you're gonna get fired for. Not, it really, it's just a nice thing to do, to just not talk that way around them. You know, if you're someone that swears a bit, and especially when you're upset or surprised or something, well then, hey, they're gonna have to suck that up. That really is, unless they don't allow any of that at work, and then those are places I can't work at. And but because there was one girl, we ended up becoming pretty good friends, but I didn't know she was there. I was talking to somebody else, and she told me, she goes, "Well, I really don't like that talk." And I go, "Fair enough." And I just quit talking to her. And yeah, I didn't tell anybody else not to talk to her. I hung out around her. I just didn't talk when she was around. And she made a comment. She goes, "Well, you don't talk to me anymore." I go, "Well, yeah, because I go, you told me that you didn't like some of the stuff I said." And I told her, I go, "Look, the way I look at it, you got every right to be you, but I got every right to be me." And I go, "I just figure I won't talk around you because I go, I don't want you offended. And then she kind of thought about it. She goes, "You're serious?" I go, "I'm absolutely serious." I go, "I'm not mad. I'm not bitter." I go, "If you're around me and some of that slips out," I go, "well, then we're going to have to deal with it." But I go, "For the most part," I go, "I'm really trying to respect your boundaries. But I go, as much of a right as you have to be you, I go, I got a right to be me too." And I go, "I shouldn't have to do everything your way." So I go, I'm not going to talk around you." And then she goes, "Well, you can go ahead." I go, "I don't want any problems." I go, I'm really not mad." I go, "You got every right to." I go, "You got every right to feel the way you do." She goes, "No." She goes, "I'll let you know if it's a problem." But she goes, "You just go ahead." And she was actually. I go, "Are you sure?" And she goes, "I'm absolutely sure." I'm like, "Okay, fair enough." And we actually became pretty good friends. I think she was a little bit of a religious person, and but she was actually pretty cool about it. She really was. Come on, one more mending book, please. That's not too much to ask, is it? Yeah, I'll try and find something. I'll be honest with you, we had a couple months there. I like from I want to say like a couple months before they had that. Well, basically ever since they passed that amendment, Gillibrand got put in there, and they passed that amendment to force the military and that to come clean. There's been a lot of UFO talk, and it's hit or miss. Sometimes it's more than others, but there was a lot of credible stuff coming out. And before that, and again, it was a little pickup in it, but that thing Lou Elizondo was doing and that, but it has really dried up. It really has, and so I don't know. Kind of hoping we get something before I die. I don't want to. And again, I didn't even put the work in he did, but I kind of felt bad about that. That Stanton Freeman, scientist, nuclear rocket physicist or something like that, or engineer, scientist. He, I guess he was really sad as he was getting old. He knew. I think he knew. I think somebody said he sort of suspected the end was approaching, and he was kind of bummed out because that guy worked. I'm a fan. I kind of follow it. I don't consider myself a UFO researcher or any. I really don't. I'm interested in it. I find it very interesting, but I am not. I'm not even a Bob Lazar, but I'm not a George Knapp. I'm not a Friedman, Stanton Freeman. I'm not a. Can't think of that reporter that's really like she's like a world leading expert on cattle mutilations. Linda Molden Howell, I think her name might be. If not, I think I'm close. I'm not one of these people. I'm not a Lou. I haven't done. I'm not even the guys at Skinwalker Ranch. I'm a fan. I'm interesting. I have thoughts on it. But when you look at these people, I would say I'm a little better than Neil deGrasse Tyson because at least I've looked into this stuff. I'm not just running around saying nope, nope, couldn't be anything. Haven't looked at anything, but nope, I'm saying no because I magically can give answers on things I know nothing about. But I'm not one of these people that's put the work in. Hell, there's a girl. God, I haven't seen her. I don't know if she quit following me or blocked me or something, but she had a TV show on the CW. Former Navy person. Uh, I am not kidding you. That would be another thing if I'd have no way to get a hold of her because I can't remember what her name is. But there was this. I don't know if you want to call it a paranormal show or whatever. She's a former Navy person, and she investigated the paranormal, and she had done some really interesting stuff. I watched it either online or I watched it on that CW app, and I don't know if it was one you have to sign into. They're both free, but one of them you have to sign in with your TV provider. The other one was free for all, and I think they've only got one left. I think the one that was totally free they got rid of, so it wasn't free for all time or whatever like they promised. But I watched it. I found it interesting. I thought she did a good job. I really did. And I got to be honest with you, if if it was one of those things where you just ran into like a ridiculous unlimited amount of money, I wouldn't mind reaching out to her, and it'd be kind of a thing where I'd kind of expect her, I wouldn't want to pay her enough to live in luxury, but if she had a side job or something else, I wouldn't mind giving her enough money to occasionally, like Sarah Vowell, she wrote a book called Assassination Vacation, but I wouldn't, if you had the extra money and it was going to sit there, it was like Brewster's Millions, you had way more than you could ever need. I would love to fund somebody like that to investigate some of these things, and maybe they get an answer, maybe they don't, but you could at least try. Like, what is the shot, you miss every shot you don't take. And I think it would be interesting to like look into some of that stuff. And she seemed real competent. um Now you take, and the one chick is actually pretty hot, and I gotta finish watching it, but it's that Hunting Atlantis. But that guy that's on there, and who knows, I'm really suspicious of that show because I don't think they're looking in the right place. But maybe he'll find something. But I think he's going on some assumptions that just aren't borne out by the facts and the evidence with Atlantis. Because like, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence that says the fall of Atlantis was like 11,000 years ago or something like that. And if that's the fall of it, because they were asking Graham Hancock about this the one time, and he said, "Well, we know it ended, by the evidence we have, it ended around here." And so he goes, "But we don't know when it was built. We don't know how long it had lasted." But so you'd want to be looking like, say, 11,000 to 15,000 years ago. Well, he got it in his head, and I don't know if it's because he's a young Earth creationist or whatever, but he's looking for it like 5,000 years ago. And again, maybe it's there. Maybe the other people are wrong, but there's actually physical evidence that matches the other stuff. Because like, it's one of Plato's ancestors. He actually traveled to Egypt, and there was like a statue, a wall. It was basically a story carved into a pillar or a wall or something in some kind of a temple in northern Egypt. And it was the ancient Egyptians. It was like not the younger Egyptians that we've heard about. It'd be the older Egyptians. And he said they weren't called the Atlanteans. It wasn't called Atlantis. They were referred to as the primeval ones. But he said when Plato's ancestor had it translated, it's the story of Atlantis. And, the story that came down from Solon puts it about 11,000 years ago, the fall of it, the end of it. And then Plato puts it there. And then what we found about the Younger Dryas, and there's actual evidence for this. There was a flood. that coincides. And he said, he goes, now, either what Plato is saying is true, or he made it up and is the luckiest son of a bitch alive because the story he made up just happens to match up with archaeological evidence, you know. And but the one thing I did like about this guy, I will say this in the little bit that I've watched of that Hunting Atlantis so far, is he he sat there and was talking about Atlantis, but he said, you know, Atlantis isn't the only place to look for. When they talked about Atlantis, that was like the capital of the empire. There were actually like 10 cities to Atlantis. And so I still think he's looking in the wrong time period, but at least he's not focused on Atlantis because he's saying there's 9 other cities that you could find evidence of, you know. And so who knows? Maybe he'll find something. And then the other thing, now I don't know where this fits in, but I think this is, you find this more on some of the Gaia stuff that, and I've gotten to see it because it's on YouTube, but some of the stuff that's on that Gaia channel, I've heard speculation that like when you look at the Ark of the Covenant, some of these ancient buildings that you've found, like we still to this day can't build them like that. The Sphinx, the pyramids, there's some speculation that those might have been built with Atlantean technology after the fall of Atlantis. And, you know, at this point, who knows? I don't think we can say, and, you know, unless you can actually come and tell me specifically with proof what happened, unless you can basically, like, there's one guy I might be willing to believe, and I can't think of the guy's name, and don't quote me on this, but I think it's down by Florida. There is a guy who built give me a minute. I'll see if I can look this up. I'm not trying to do a solid UFO one, but in case anybody stopped in for this.
Playing from Casey's tab A8.
Alexa, volume 7. God, you know, as old as that and I mean this sincerely, as old as that, what the fuck? Oh, I know what it is. Okay, hang on. Okay. As old as that speaker is, that Amazon, that thing is, because I wouldn't be buying another one, but. Okay, Jesus fucking Christ. This happens with my phone, and the just got an update or whatever, and it's like they for some reason I'll hit a key, and the one next to it, now the phone it's much smaller, But these are not that small, but I clearly, well, maybe I missed it. I don't know, but it seemed like I hit the backspace to delete stuff because I started typing in Florida recent and then it put hurricane up. I'm trying to delete the hurricane, and I'm positive I hit the backspace, and yet the little magnifying glass to go search is what fired off. I'm like, they got to get this shit fixed. If it ain't me, they got to get this shit fixed. I don't remember what the damned. This might be it. This might actually be it. Hang on. I didn't know if I'd be able to find it. I would at least try. Okay. There is a guy. Now, the stuff that he's got, it's it's not, I'm not saying that we couldn't do this, but this guy built it. Name of the place is called Coral Castle, and the guy's name was Edward. I think he's dead now. Uh, Edward Leedskalnin, Leedskalnin, was suddenly rejected by his 16-year-old fiancee Agnes Skavust, and she rejected him, so she doesn't get her name spelled, in Latvia just one day before the wedding. And this was back in the day, so try not to judge it. Leaving for America, he came down with allegedly terminal tuberculosis, but spontaneously healed, stating that magnets had some effect on his disease. I don't remember this. And But the name of the place is Coral Castle in Florida. It was made by a Latvia guy. Edward spent more than 28 years building Coral Castle, refusing to allow anyone to view him while he worked. A few teenagers claimed to have witnessed his work, reporting that he had caused the blocks of coral to move like hydrogen balloons. The only tool Ledskin spoke of using was a perpetual motion holder. And some of the shows I've watched, we had something like this when I was with that job I was talking about. We had something like this. But I think it would be like I think it's called a cherry picker. Some people that work on cars use them. And on these one big machines, the tooling that we put in there, like on the other side of the aisle, we had all these, and they were all uniform, and they were smaller. Almost all of the tooling that you would put in there, almost all of it you could put in by hand. Some of it you'd need another person. Some of them you could put it in there yourself. And it was just not a big deal. And the but on the other side, pretty much every tooling went in there. You couldn't even put it in with somebody. You'd have to clamp the tooling together, and there was a machine. It was hydraulic. It was, you just plug it in, and it was all, you could lift a ton with this thing. And it even had a thing where you could clamp it on to the frame of the machine, so it wasn't going to go anywhere. You put it on there, and I don't know I think you just put a bolt in, and it kind of held it in there. And then you could lift it up, and you had to push it by hand, but it was all fairly easy to do. Sometimes you need help with that. And this this old guy, they were fucking with this. As far as we could tell, they were fucking with him, trying to get him to quit, trying to get him to retire. They didn't have a retirement program. My understanding is this guy was going to retire, and then when he found out that the vice president was trying to shove him out the door, that guy's probably going to die in there if he hasn't already. Like if COVID didn't take him out. Somebody said they go, this place is going to burn down, and they're going to find his body holding like a torque assist wrench and trying to get something done. But he basically refused to quit. Well, what they did was they would occasionally send him out to to run the machines, to do like setup. I don't think they ever made him run them as a operator, but they'd send him out to do repairs. Well, whenever they sent this guy out, if he found anything wrong with the machine, like it could be just a slight air leak in the vacuum assembly, he'd go get everybody in maintenance, and they'd literally tear the machine apart and repair everything that was wrong with it before he'd touch it. And it was just fun to watch. Well, he ended up over there, and there were three of us over there. There was me, there was him, and then there was this other guy. There were the only three, and there were five machines over there, and we were in like this old guy. I think they call it a cherry picker. It doesn't fasten to the machine. And we looked at it after he'd done this a few times. He was damaging. He was lifting shit way too heavy for it. But it was what they called a cherry picker. You could lift. I think that's what they called it, and I'm pretty sure it was mainly used for like auto mechanics, like home guys. And what he'd do is he'd hook this hoist up to the tooling, and then he'd just he'd pull that crank, and then he'd force it over, and that tool would come up and it would just bounce, you know. And unless I was absolutely needed at the front of the machine, because that's where he was, I was hanging out at the back. That mechanic that was over there, he was hanging out by the back, and our lead operator came up and she goes, "Hey, you know, Lloyd's on your guys' team. Shouldn't you guys be keeping an eye on him?" And I told her, I go, "Look, somebody's gonna die around him doing that crap." I go, "Sooner or later that thing's gonna break." And she goes, "Well, how do you know that?" I go, "When he's not busy," I go look at it." I go, them fucking screws that hold that mast together, they're fucking getting warped. All those connectors are being stretched out. I go, "That thing's gonna kill somebody sooner or later." I go, I don't want to watch it. I don't want to be near it. I go, "He wants to kill himself." I go, "That's his business." I go, "I don't have to watch it." And she said something to the other guy. He goes, "I'm kind of with Casey on this." He goes, I'm not doing it. I'm just not doing it. And that's what I've seen pictures of this Coral Castle, and that's what he had. He had like this tripod, and there was an assembly on it where it looked like you might be able to hoist stuff, but these he originally built the castle, which he named Ed's Place in Florida City, Florida, around 1923. He purchased the land from Reuben Moser, whose wife assisted him when he had a very bad bout with tuberculosis, Florida City, which borders the Everglades. In the southernmost city of the United States that is not on an island, it was an extremely remote location with very little development at the time. The castle remained in Florida City until about 36, when Ledskilinen decided to move and take the castle with them to its final location at South Dixie Highway, Miami, Florida, 33033. Coral Castle website states that he chose to move in order to protect his privacy. When discussion about developing land in the area of the castle started, he spent 3 years moving the component structures of Coral Castle 10 miles north from Florida City to its current location in Leisure City, Florida. He named his new place Rock Gate after the huge rear swinging gate he built in the back wall. He continued to work on the castle up until his death in 1951, so he died a little bit after World War II. Hang on. The coral pieces that are part of the newer castle, not among those transported from the original, were quarried on the property only a few feet away from the castle walls. The pool and the pit beside the southern wall are quarries. The east and west quarries have been filled in. At Florida City, Ledeskin charged visitors 10 cents apiece to tour the castle grounds, but after moving to Homestead, he asked for donations of 25 cents, but let his visitors enter free if they had no money. There are signs carved into rocks at the front gate to ring bell twice. He would come down from the living quarters in the second story of the castle tower to the gate and conduct a tour. He never told anyone who asked him how he made the castle. He would simply answer, "It's not difficult if you know how." And when he was asked why he built it, he would vaguely answer, "For Sweet 16." This is widely believed to be a reference of Agnes Kavust, whose often misspelled surname Scuffs is not even a legitimately formed Latvian word. In Leedskin's own publication, A Book in Every Home, he implies the Sweet 16 was more an ideal than a reality. According to a Latvian account, the girl existed, but her name was actually Hermione Lucis. Yeah, anybody that watched Harry Potter's, they know that those people named Hermione can be a fucking handful. But you gotta admire the guy. He didn't give anybody a real name. Somebody else figured it out, but he didn't give anybody a real name, so he was protecting her privacy. Pretty decent guy. Uh, in 51, he put a sign on the door of the front gate going to the hospital and took a bus to Jackson Memorial Hospital. He eventually suffered a stroke at one point, either before he left for the hospital or at the hospital. He died 28 days later of Pyelon. It's a kidney infection. I have no idea how to pronounce it. Pyelonepphritis. At age 64. His death certificate noted that his death was a result of uremia, failure of kidneys as a result of the infection, and abscess. When the property was being investigated, 3,500 was found amongst the Leedskin's personal belongings. He had made his income from conducting tours, selling pamphlets about the various subjects. Really would like to get one more mending book. It's about selling pamphlets about various subjects, including magnetic currents and the sale of a portion of his 10-acre property for the construction of U.S. Route 1. He had no will. The castle became the property of his closest living relative in America, a nephew from Michigan named Harry. And then there's a little bit of discussion here, but somebody from Chicago ended up buying it. If I'm the guy that bought it might not have even known there was a castle on it when he bought it. Well, they started giving tours of the place. They changed the name of Rock Gate to Rock Gate Park and later Coral Castle. And then in 81, Levin sold the castle to Coral Castle Inc. for, this is pretty good, for $175,000. Company retains ownership today. Okay, the grounds of the Coral Castle consist of 1,100 short tons of stone in the form of walls, carvings, furniture, and a castle tower. The stones, now this is the interesting part. They think commonly it's believed to be made of coral, probably because they call it Coral Castle. It is made of oolite, also known as oolitic limestone. It's a sedimentary rock composed of small spheric grains of concentrically layered carbonate that may include localized concentrations of fossil, shell, and coral. It's found throughout southern Florida. It's often found beneath only several inches of topsoil, such as the Coral Castle site. The stones are fastened together without mortar, and they've been there. They've been there for what? Not quite 100 years now, but they've been there for a while, and they fit together without mortar. They are set on top of each other using their weight to keep them together. The craftsmanship detail is so skillful, and the stones are connected with such precision that no light passes through the joints. The 8 foot tall vertical stones that make the perimeter have a wall have a uniform height, even with the passage of decades, and a direct hit on August 24th, 1992, by the Category 5 Hurricane Andrew. The stones have not shifted. Uh, Among the many of the features and carvings of the castle are notable. Among them, a two-story castle tower that served as Leedskin's living quarters, an accurate sundial, a Polaris telescope, an obelisk, a barbecue, a water well, a fountain, celestial stars and planets, and numerous pieces of furniture. The furniture pieces include a heart-shaped table, a table in the shape of Florida, 25 rocking chairs, chairs resembling crescent moons, and a bathtub bed and a throne. With few exceptions, the objects are made from single pieces of stone that weigh on average 15 short tons each. The largest stone weighs 30 short tons. Don't ask me, I really don't know, I'm just reading it. And the tallest are two monoliths standing 25 feet each. And the thing is, the people that were around him when he did this, because he didn't really want, and there were some kids that snuck in allegedly, but he never brought in any large, these things, again, 9 tons, 15 tons. I think they said one of them was like short of 30 tons. And he never brought in any major, because people would have seen it. He never brought in any major equipment. And some of the pictures they had that I've seen, if I remember right, it was like a little tripod, and there was a thing on there, like, I can't remember if they had like a gearing system, like a cherry picker, but there was like a string that hang down from it, and I don't know if it was meant to lift this stuff or if it held a plumb bob, but there was one picture where there was a box of some sort that sat on top of that. And it was only in one picture, and that box has never been found. I don't know if the government went in and took it or if nobody ever recovered it. But the speculation for me and others is that whatever that box was, that's what. And those kids said that he floated them like helium balloons, these big stones. Look into that. If I might actually do a regular segment on this instead of a fishing thing. But that's something that if you ever got the time, that would be. And again, I wouldn't want to go now because I just trying to get around would wear me out. But that is something that I've always wanted to go see. And I got friends and family that yeah, if you're gonna go to Florida and you had time, stop in and check it out. It's kind of an interesting thing. But you can look it up. Coral Castle or something. What the hell is it called again? Yeah, Coral Castle, Florida, United States. That is something that maybe you've heard of it. I got a feeling that many of you may not have heard of it. But this thing was made in the last 100 years. And it has similarities to some of these sites that you find around the world. That, and again, now this is one that you could maybe, when you get up to the 15 and 30 tons now, I'm not so sure. But, this guy clearly didn't have, according to what they say, if they're lying, then I'm lying to you, but I'm not doing it on purpose. But they're saying he didn't have access to any of the equipment you would need for this. He basically did it with like hand tools. Nobody really knows how he did it. And it fits together like some of these old megalithic sites. It's definitely a thing of interest. It is really a thing of interest. I think I've got more than I should be able to start throwing these out, but holy shit. All of that and you couldn't put some mending in there for me? My god. Uh Okay, I do have an impaling 4. It's got loyalty. I can't use it because loyalty will make the thing come back after you throw it. Um, what do we got here? I'll go for a little bit more. But yeah, that's something you could maybe check out. You might find that. That's another thing I'll do when I don't have any new news to do. I'll try to like, and a lot of it is I'll be watching Ancient Aliens, and that's where I learned about that. But I'll take some of this stuff that maybe people don't know about, and again, I don't expect you to trust me. Please don't, because I could be having a day and just remembering stuff wrong. That I've run into that before, and I will do my best when I'm not sure to tell you. But like you can go look this up, come to your own conclusion. You don't need me to think for you. Think for yourself. Just do it in a way that it's going to help you out. Uh, you know what you don't want to do is if you're thinking for yourself, you want 2 and 2 to equal 4. You don't want 2 and 2 to equal we need Jesus in government. You don't want 2 and 2 plus 2 to equal the election was stolen. You got to think right. But seriously, think for yourself. Go out, investigate this stuff, see what you find on it, and if you see something interesting, like come back onto this thing on Twitter and leave a comment if you found it interesting. If there's something I didn't say that you thought was interesting, drop it in there, share. And whatever time I got left, let's see if we can do some interesting stuff that might help a few people. At least, be a little less bored. Uh, Anybody that's still here, we got a couple call to actions that I'm doing right now. One of them, write everybody that you vote for and let them know that we need legalized assisted suicide. Uh, we're watching kids get killed every day because we've got, half the politicians can't do anything and the other half don't want to do anything because they somehow think the NRA is the second coming of Jesus or some bullshit. And if we can watch these kids die, if we can watch hospitals and insurance companies pull the plug on somebody that the family is not willing to give up on yet. They can go to the courts and they say, hey, nobody's paying for this, so we want to pull the plug and let this person die. If we can do all of that, God damn it, we can legalize assisted suicide. I think it would be far easier to get that done than to fix disability in this country. And like even if we fixed it so people got on it, they really need to fix it so people can live on it. Um, it's, This ain't even nothing to disability. Everybody in this country should have the same insurance that Mitch McConnell has. You take that Steve Scalise. You may feel that that guy is a useless tool, and I would agree with you on that. But this is a guy that's got some kind of cancer. And there's another one. Now, this guy, like Jamie Raskin, he's another guy that had cancer. And you know what? They beat the average for being able to survive it. Because they got good health care. Stuff's found early. They can treat it. Um, and I don't know, but if my mom had the health care that was as good as what the congressmen have, she might even be alive today. She might. I'm not trying to badmouth anything, but she had pretty good insurance, from when my dad retired at GM, but it wasn't as good as what the senators have. It wasn't as good as what people in Congress have. And if we can't afford to give that to everybody in the United States, then we can't afford it to give it to them. I'm sorry, I firmly believe that. If do I need that here? Nope. If we can't afford to give that to everybody in the United States, then we can't afford to give it to the congressmen and women. I firmly believe that. And and then it isn't just disability. Like when you look at this, we need a minimum wage so people can afford to live. If you go back and you look at, even there were even some Republicans back in the day, and the Democrats don't even do this anymore. I think it was Teddy Roosevelt, lion of the Republican Party. FDR was another one. There were certain, and I'm gonna paraphrase it, but they had the mindset that a company that does not pay a living wage doesn't deserve to exist in the United States. And you take a look at Walmart, owned by the Waltons, and there's 8 members of that family that are usually in the top 10 or top 15 or top 20 richest people in the United States. And you've got 8 family members that own one company, and those 8 are in the top 10, or at least they used to be top 10, top 20, something like that, for being the richest people in the United States. Maybe not the world, but close. And there have been multiple stories. Probably going to have another one this year. Maybe Rachel or somebody else will do it this year. If not Rachel, then that can't think of her last name, but that Alex that's doing Rachel's spot Tuesday through Friday, or maybe Nicole Wallace will do it. Oberman used to do it too. I think Rachel's done it, or Stephanie Rule on the 11th hour or whatever. Somebody usually does one story a year, talking about how Walmart employees have to put signs up in the break room asking for donations because there's always a few people that work at Walmart. They're not getting a living wage, and they're looking for people to chip in and help them provide their family a Thanksgiving meal. The rich fucks that own the company, they're sure as hell not. And they make all that money because they don't pay their employees a living wage. They just don't. And that needs to end. That really needs to end. And then, there's been talk, like you take a look at the current minimum wage. When it was created, the standard it set, if it had been kept up with inflation, minimum wage would be around $25 an hour right now. So like when you look at what GM just went to negotiate for, I don't know what they have now, but they got a pretty good bump. But when you look at what GM had before, they were making $25 an hour. That was just barely what minimum wage used to buy you. When you look at their paycheck, that is what minimum wage used to buy you back in the 50s. And a lot of people, they look at that GM paycheck and they're like, "Oh my God, that's really good. That should be the minimum wage." The people working at GM should be making like even what they've negotiated for now is probably not what they should be getting paid for those jobs. The fucking moron making your sandwich at Subway. I just, it's just out shopping the other. These people that are working at grocery stores that help you out. That's what those people should be making. When oh God, when I was checking out at the grocery store, I had to go get toilet paper day. That woman that was ringing me out, that's what she should be making is around $25 an hour. Skilled labor. What if you're breaking your ass building trucks, if you are a nurse practitioner, um, if you're somebody that's helping people schedule appointments, they should be all be making more. And we've got this thing, the Republicans are so against welfare. Well, they should start with corporate welfare. You take a look at Walmart. Those people that own that company, they are making just money hand over fist, and they're not providing health care to their employees. Well, some of that money from them should go to the government so they can provide them. And they should tell these companies like, "Hey, look, if you can't do this, you don't deserve to exist." If you can't, if you can't give your people a good health care, then what we'll do is we're going to tax you. You're going to have a health care tax. And we're going to take it kind of like we pay into Social Security with FICA or whatever it is. We're just going to take a little bit for every employee you have, and then we're going to provide them good health care. And then you don't have to compete with the foreign countries. Because every one of these foreign countries in their home state, like anybody over here that's working and they have to compete with stuff that's being made overseas, if it's not a third world shithole, and even then, some of them have like free health care for their citizens. But if you're competing against France, if you're competing against the UK, Canada, Japan, Germany, all of these countries have free health care for their citizens. And those companies don't have to pay for that. Doesn't come out of their pocket like GM's, doesn't come out of their pocket like IBM or any of these other places. And another thing that they should be telling them is like, well, if you don't provide a pension, and really maybe pensions are gone. Somebody made a comment about, maybe we need to do what France does, where France makes every employer provide like 4 weeks of paid health or paid vacation to their employees, because that's what they do in France. Because the thing is, I was just getting like when I got sick, I was just getting to the point where I think I had a couple more years to go, and I was going to hit my 4 weeks of vacation every year. And, that should be, according to France, according to what they're talking about, that is something that should be like entry level. What in the fuck? You guys, I'm trying to do a fishing stream here. How rude. Learn the lesson that I gave to the sheep. And, but that's like a minimum that they do. And we need something like that there. So, you get your people at GM, maybe they get 6. Look at Congress. They're on vacation like half the year. So when you look at what Congress has, it's like, again, if you've been at a company for a while, maybe to keep you from going somewhere else, maybe they got to give you 6 or 8 weeks of vacation after you've been there for a little bit. But it should be like 4 weeks across the board. You get a living wage, so where you can afford to go on vacation. You get 4 weeks of paid vacation every year. You get paid time off for maternity leave. Some of that they're actually getting done, but and then you got people that might not hate their job so much. They might be decent people. Maybe they don't go shoot everybody up and then kill themselves like that guy out in Maine. If you can't find anything else, you could actually go get a job at a gas station. packing boxes, ringing out groceries for people where, you can actually feed your kids. We won't have any more of this where you'll have like, black single moms having to work three jobs trying to barely feed her kid, wonder if you're going to have a place to leave, and then God forbid you need fucking medication. Um, these are things that would all improve the quality of life in this country. And the thing is, it's never going to happen. It's never, we can't even get one side of this country to stop letting kids get killed in school. So please write them, ask them to legalize assisted suicide. The other thing, I think it's still kind of a toss up in the House, but it sounds like they might have the votes in the Senate to get this disclosure thing for UFOs. And again, I want to stress, I would really hope maybe we will find something out. Maybe we'll find out that the government's been in secret talks with aliens since the atomic bombs on Hiroshima or something like that. But I think it's far more likely. At least I would put more money if I was a betting person. I'd put a lot more money on the fact that they're going to find corruption. That you're going to find money that's being taken that shouldn't be taken to fund secret projects. I was just watching an episode of The Rookie, and the one guy he played like the main bad guy in I think it was called The Seventh Sign. It was a sci-fi show. It was on like 2, 3, 4 seasons. I think Sci-Fi actually ran it. It might have been made for another country. It might have been made in Canada or something like that. And maybe they didn't make it. Maybe they just showed it. But it was a guy who was trying to fight off. An alien invasion using the quatrains of Nostradamus. It was a really good show. Hey, Hollywood, you dipshits out there, if you're looking for a show to remake, that would be a really good one. I don't know, maybe it's just not politically correct, but showing the nudity that was I think there was original nudity in there, and then when they put it on Sci-Fi, putting the nudity in there would be a really good thing, at least for me. The nudity would be a good thing, and that was a good show, really was, and remake that, but we need some. Oh, anyways, the guy that played the main bad guy in that, he was a fucking special forces guy working for the DIA, I think, and they were basically funding special projects with counterfeit money, because somebody got killed, and it was a veteran who was friends with somebody who was friends with one of the training officers who was former military. And but you found out that it was, the government was making counterfeit bills to fund illegal black ops. And they put that in the show, but like from what we're finding out is they're just taking money. They're not getting stuff appropriated. They're not reporting it back to Congress. And again, I'm not a betting person, but if I was a betting person, I would go all in that you are going to find some criminal activity. You're going to find some people that need to go to jail, or people that, if they're not alive anymore, they needed to go to jail. And, and then it would be a bonus if we found anything out about ET. I'll try and get an angle on this and do some stuff on some of these, because maybe I'll try and do some streams on the most popular, like the things that have happened that I think show the strongest signs of alien activity. Like and I can tell you off the top of my head, the two biggest ones are Roswell, New Mexico, the Roswell incident, and the other one, I can't think of the name of the place, but it's near Rendlesham Forest in the UK. And those are the two biggest ones. And like the Roswell one, I would put that at the fucking top of the list. And the reason why I would is because the fucking army told us that it was they came right out. Hey, when they tell you the truth the first time, believe them. Well, then they put a lid on it, and they've been lying to us, I think, for about 70 years, because like when Clinton was president, uh, they did another look at it for him. No, 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 not. I was really hoping. I was hoping I got one. I'm not. I'm gonna be thankful I got it. But I was really hoping I'd get two mending books today. I really did. I'm gonna throw those out. I'm getting too many of this shit. I I think I'll end the stream. I'm gonna go get that thing charged up and get my mending on it, and then still kind of pumped about that. Would have liked to get two, but I am not gonna look to gift a gift book in the mouth. But hopefully I'll be on tomorrow. If not, I'll be on as quick as I can. Seriously, hope everybody is having a good weekend. I don't know where you're at. I hope you guys had at least as decent a weather as we did today. It was a little chilly. The other day we went out. This might when we went and got groceries. It was, I would say, like Indian summer. It got up to like 60, 65 degrees. For Wisconsin, that shit, you could go out and play frisbee, hacky sack. That's good weather. That's absolutely good weather. Hope everybody has a good weekend, and like I said, I'll try and catch you tomorrow. If not, I'll try to catch you Monday. I will try to do another, especially now that I got a mending book. I will try to do another one of these streams tomorrow, and if I can, I'll do another Diablo stream tomorrow. Peace out, and I hope everybody has a great day.